on a comprehensive agreement. Joining us from Washington, D.C., Farhad Alavi, an international lawyer, the managing director of Akrivis Law Group. It took me some time to go through all of those steps over the last 12 years or so, but I think what was important to show was to show that at times both sides have gone back on what they agreed to do. What's to hold either Iran or the Western powers to this agreement this time if it does come to fruition?
Well, I think there's a lot of provisions in this agreement, this joint plan that's been issued, that call for what's called snapback or triggers that will cause the sanctions to go back into place. There are many limitations on this in this agreement for Iran, some going as far forward as 25 years from now. So with that in place and these limitations in mind, the sanctions will be phased very gradually. And there is a trigger that would allow those sanctions to go back into place if Iran was to breach any of those provisions.
Would it have to go back to the United Nations, or would it simply be a matter of the P5 plus one, those permanent 5 members, plus the European Union saying, getting together and saying, look, sorry, deal's off? Would it have to go to the Security Council?
The current statement that's been issued calls for a dispute resolution system and mechanism for the P5 plus 1 member states to basically address their grievances if they feel that Iran is not complying with the current, with the provisos of that agreement. So I believe that will be the initial channel for addressing any kind of potential accusations of breach.
Do you think it's going to be easy to enforce, to check, as the IAEA is going to do, whether Iran's keeping to all of this?
Well, President Obama has said that these provisions in this agreement are very intrusive and very deep, and this is the most intrusive set of inspections that will happen to any country in any country's nuclear program. So, if we're to rely on that, I think that there are many mechanisms by which this inspection regime will be kept solid, and there will be constant monitoring of Iran's facilities.
Oil and gas, and Iran's got so much gas. Does this mean it's suddenly going to be able to start selling both those on the international market?
Right. Well, the current agreement says that once Iran fulfills its obligations, there will be a phased repeal of certain limited sanctions. But we must remember that this is not going to result in all the sanctions being repealed. And many of these oil and gas sanctions, from the U.S. side at least, predate Iran's nuclear file. So remember, not all the sanctions on Iran, at least from the U.S. side, will be repealed. So yes, there will be some limitations removed. It will remain to be seen, though, whether companies feel confident enough to want to return to the Iranian market, to the Iranian oil sector, and whether they feel that they are in the clear, so to speak, from any kind of sanctions from the U.S. or the EU. So this will not be a flip of the switch type of a repeal of the sanctions for Iran. It will be phased, and obviously there will be some delay, and it remains to be seen what the appetite by those companies will be with regards to involvement in Iran's oil and gas sector.
Mr. Alavi, thank you very much indeed. Farhad Alavi talking to us there out of Washington, D.C. on how it all might or might not work.